Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. Welcome back to the Father's Day edition. Yeah, I know it's late. I apologize for that. It's one of those. It's been a very, very long day. Uh, you guys might know I lost my dad last year, and it's been a good day of reflection and trying to remember him and all the fun stuff with that. It's difficult if you've still got your dad. Definitely cherish him. Okay, it's important. It's a big part of your life. Unless your dad's an asshole, then yeah, that's a different story. I can't help you with that part. My dad was awesome. Uh, so I figured I was talking with a friend of mine tonight, and they suggested, I had a couple ideas. We could put plugs in the limo, or we could do like a Father's Day special and talk about all the cool stuff that we've learned about vehicles from our dad. And I was like, yeah, that would be an appropriate one. That would be pretty cool. And yes, I'm sitting on the hood of the limo, and I was actually just laying back on the limo. It's nice and quiet in here. It's nice and cool, and just thinking about all the cool stuff I did with my dad regarding cars. And I want to say cars, but there were so many different things. There were so many different vehicles in our lives that I can't narrow it down to just cars because there were trucks. When we lived in West Yellowstone, my dad had a oh god, what was it? 1973 Ford F-250. It's when they first started going to F-150s and F-250s and F-350s. And my dad had an F-250, and it was bright yellow, and it had, obviously when I'm a little kid, it's gigantic tires on it. And it also, I remember it had this huge shifter. The shifter, the length of it was like 3 feet long. It was just massive and it had all these bends in it. And my dad was a very small guy. He was only 5'6", 5'7". This little Austrian guy. Sounded like the Terminator. And watching him drive this thing around Montana it was unbelievable. He just went up mountains. He didn't care. He just beat up on this truck and he had a great time with it. Um, my mom had a VW Beetle at the time. And that was actually, I think that's when I first started wrenching too, but kind of by accident. My parents didn't have a lot of money or anything like that, and so I think it was for Christmas or my birthday or something, my dad gave me a socket set, and it was one of his old socket sets, and it was super simple, super basic. There's like a dozen sockets in there and a wrench, and me being a little kid, I just went around and figured out what the sockets fit and started taking bolts out, taking nuts off, and using the screwdriver. And I was a full fledged mechanic at that point. And I managed to take the exhaust and cylinder heads off of my mom's VW, and I got in a lot of trouble for that. And they were really, really upset about it. Um, the other thing with my dad that was very, very cool, and I didn't realize, how big of a deal it was back then, but then later on in life, I figured out it was a pretty big deal. My dad had a Thiokol. He had a Snowcat, and we would go up Hebgen Mountain. We lived in West Yellowstone, and my dad was working on developing a ski area there on Hebgen Mountain. And so he had a Thiokol, and it was 8 passenger, I think, Snowcat, with the big treads and go up the hill, and it was diesel. I want to say it was a 6-cylinder diesel, but it might have been a 4-cylinder diesel. Wasn't anything huge or anything like that, but it was very cool to drive, and it was all hydraulic driven. It's a lot like the zero turn mowers of today. So you had two sticks. This one ran the right track or the left track forward and backwards, and this one ran the right track forward and backwards. So you could steer, you go forward, you can go backwards, and you could, zero turn it. It was kind of cool. It was not very difficult to operate. And the the fun part was my dad let us drive it. I mean, my brother and I were little tiny kids, and you're in this big mountainous, wide open region, and there's 5 feet of snow, you can't really hurt much. My dad would let us drive it, for 10 minutes or whatever, going up the hill or coming down the hill. And later on, I worked for the trail crew for one of the ski areas that my dad ran, and I didn't get any breaks, man. There was no favoritism or anything. I I grunted it out just like everyone else. And anyway, the snowcats there were considerably different, far more advanced. They were, they're serious grooming machines, and they were LMC 3600s, huge, you know, attachments on them for grooming ski area, ski runs and stuff, and huge plows on them, and the tracks and grousers and everything. Grousers. So I'll explain this to you guys. The metal blades on those tracks are called grousers, and I don't know if that's a German term or a slang term or whatever, but that's what I've always called them, and people understood what I was talking about. So those are grousers. And on the 3600, you have four belts, or sorry, you have four belt. Yeah, I think it was four belts. And then you have, God, I can't even remember how many grousers. I want to say 80 grousers per side. And we would have to replace them all the time. They would get, hit rocks and they'd get broken and stuff like that. And we had to replace all these grousers. And I remember using acetylene torches and cutting off bolts and doing all this stuff at the maintenance shop. So yeah, it was a kind of getting me ready to work on LMC 3600s, but I didn't know that. That was 20 years before, 18, 15 years before. So that was kind of cool. And then um, my dad later on, he bought a Porsche 911 SC, and this is back in the, I want to say, the late 70s, early 80s, and it was a 1978 Porsche 911 SC. It was silver with lobster interior, and he really wanted a Targa. That was his big thing, and he was getting it from the gray market. And gray market back then was kind of like importing cars now, but it was a little more, subverse or whatever. It was kind of a almost legal way to do it. My dad he got this car through the gray market, but they didn't have a Targa. They only had an electric sunroof, and my dad was like, "Okay, fine, we'll do electric sunroof." And that car he referred to as his mistress, and he took incredible care of the car. It was absolutely mint. And of course, my brother and I were never allowed anywhere near it until he went out of town. We learned early on how to copy keys and all that. So that car went out a lot, had a lot of sex in that car, had a lot of fun in that car. I got stabbed over that car. um, that car was really cool. I found out later on, this is, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago, my dad decided to sell it. He wasn't driving anymore, and um, he couldn't get any enjoyment out of it, so he decided to sell it, and he didn't tell me. And I found out later on that he sold it for like 24 grand or something. It was probably an $80,000 car, and he just basically gave it away. That part hurt. He did race it. He took it to a bunch of track days. Down in Pueblo, I remember one in Pueblo where he blew a tire at like 130 miles an hour. It scared the hell out of him. And he had to drive all the way back home. It's like 6 hours on the donut spare. He was not thrilled about that. Um, but yeah, he really enjoyed that car. When he got the Porsche, that's when we started getting into working on our own vehicles. Uh, More me than my brother, but my dad showed us, basic maintenance and how to winterize. Obviously, growing up in Colorado, you got to figure out how to winterize stuff, and keeping things clean, changing brake pads, changing tires. We kind of learned on the riding mower, but we learned in real life on the Subaru GL wagons we had, and the other company cars that my dad had. He had a Bronco too, and he had a, oh God, what was it? It was a Buick. It was a Buick wagon, like an '83 Buick wagon. We were in Pennsylvania at the time. I don't remember what it was. Um, it was like this light blue, and it had the fake wood paneling on the side. And the only thing I remember about that car was it was during a gas crisis, and we could only go get gas on even days because that's the last number of the license plate, whatever that was. Um, that's what I remember about that car. The Porsche definitely had a lot more fun in that car, and I was really bummed when he told me he sold it. That part that kind of sucked. Um, but yeah, if you guys have any, you know, stories or anecdotes or anything that your dad taught you about vehicles or cars, trucks, motorcycles, bicycles, whatever, definitely let me know about it. I'd love to hear it. Um, the one thing my dad did do is give me the opportunity to work with this guy named Tom Vertis, and Tom worked at the maintenance shop at the ski area, and he took care of all of the vehicles there. So all of the Ford trucks, the regular vehicles, not the Thiokals. Those were different guys who worked on those. And then on the weekends, on Saturdays, Tom would come in and we would work on my vehicles. So we worked on the Beast, which was my '73 Jeep Cherokee Chief, and we worked on. Um, I think we did a lot of stuff with the Cougar. I had a 1970 Mercury Cougar. Um, we did a ton of stuff, and I learned so much from Tom. He used to build dragsters in Denver and race at Vandermeer. Super great guy, very patient, especially with my dumb ass. I'm 17, 18-year-old kid. I have no clue what the hell I'm doing. And he was super patient and taught me a ton, absolute ton about cars, rebuilding transfer cases. And ah, I, I can't even tell you. Take a Haynes man. Tom was like a Haynes manual for my Jeep Cherokee. That's what he was. Every, he knew everything that we had to do when it was time to do it, like replacing the clutch and diff fluid and all of that stuff. He knew exactly what to do. I had no clue. So my dad gave me the opportunity to work with Tom, which was pretty cool. I really liked that. I really liked that. That helped me out immensely. The downside is it got me totally addicted to doing these things, like this, all the other cars. It it kept that, it started that fire and it kept it going, and even through college and everything else, my career in the TV and film industry and all of that, I kept that going. Um, I always loved cars. I always wanted a cool car. I always wanted, what my dad had. He had the daily driver, and then he had the fun car. And I wish he had taken the fun car out a lot more often than he did. He really only took it out a few times in the summer. In Colorado, you get about 4 months where you can drive a really nice car like that, and he didn't take it out as often as I had hoped he would. My brother and I definitely took it out a lot more than he did, but he never recognized the mileage or anything like that, or he didn't care. So we got away with murder on that one. Um, but yeah, I kept that my entire life, and then I get to a position where I can have a daily driver and a fun car. Then I can have a daily and another fun car. And how about if I get a race car? And yeah, it just keeps going. And then how about if I get a shop and I pass along that knowledge that I got from my dad and from Tom Vertis and other guys like Roy Hicks and these other guys who put this mentality in my head of you can do all this stuff. You just have to break stuff first. Go ahead and break it. There's another one. We'll get another bolt or we'll get another clutch or whatever. And they taught me not to be fearful of that stuff. And that was a big step, because I think that's a hard lesson for people to learn. Is it's okay if you break it, because there's going to be another one. Now, of course, there's exceptions to that rule. There's one-offs and unobtainium and stuff like that. But for the most part, 99% of the time, you can get another piece. And the other part, and I wanted to pass this on, and that's what I do in this shop, is to teach people. And I've absolutely loved doing that when people come to me and they're like, "Hey, I want to learn how to change my brake pads," and I'm happy to show them. And the rule in my shop is, I'll do the left side, you do the right, or I'll do the front, and you do the back. I'll show you how to do it, but you're going to leave here with knowledge. You know, I don't do this stuff for free. It's not a. Um, you're going to have to work. It's not a. It's not a gift. I guess it is a gift if you think about it. But passing that on and doing that was, I got to put that on my dad, and I got to put that on Tom and guys like Roy Hicks and stuff like that, because they wanted to pass along that knowledge and make sure that I was, prepared for anything that, flew my way. Like, you know, one MZ swapping a Toyota MR2, or throwing a 383 stroker in a 26-foot limo with a hot tub in the back. Yeah. Why is my phone dinging? Are people dinging me at midnight? Oh, yeah, Hammond is. Okay. What is Brian saying? Okay. Looks like we're working on the Subaru tomorrow. So we made a good choice for tonight. Brian just sent me a message saying he just put the kids to bed. So they had a cool Father's Day with their dad. That was nice. And I keep sliding down the hood. Sorry. And of course, this is brought to you by Rockstar. I don't think my dad ever said anything about me drinking Rockstar or anything. Let's see what else. I haven't seen anyone else pop on or say anything in the group, in the message. Uh, he wants to come over in the morning. Great. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, crap. I'm going Amish. I'm showing a little skin. It's nice and warm here today. I got a motorcycle ride in. Went around Alum Creek Reservoir and Hoover Reservoir, and stopped off at a cool spot, and then had to wait for all these paddle boarders to come in because I was like, "Oh, this is a great shot." And then they like came into the shot, and I'm like, "All right, come on, you guys." They were super nice. Great sunset here tonight. Let's see what else about my dad. Or if you guys want to, you can tell me about yours. I'd love to hear, different people's experiences with their dad and their vehicles. Some people, parents are just not into that. Like my parents, it's weird that I'm in the music industry. My parents were not musical at all. I mean, we had, I think we had ABBA records. I remember we had the Stars Born soundtrack. My parents thought that was just incredible. And then we had a couple of ABBA records. I don't remember anything else. I really don't. My dad was a big fan of Zamfir, Master of the Pan Flute. So it's very odd that I got into the music industry, playing guitar and that being what I do. It's very odd. And so sometimes parents aren't into stuff, they're just not into vehicles, so they're not into music. Um, my mom thought Prince and Michael Jackson were the same person. Uh, I had to tell my mom, no, Michael and Latoya Jackson are the same person. You got to be a little older to get that joke. What else? That was just kind of weird. So if your parents weren't into cars, you probably didn't learn much. You might have learned it from someone else though. And you know, um, I saw a lot of cool stuff on social media today about dads, and a lot of them are car friends. So a lot of them were, my dad taught me how to change the oil in my car, and he taught me, you know, how to do, all the simple maintenance on my car, and I can't thank him enough. And that's why I'm, racing at 24 hours of Le Mans this weekend. It's nice to see that, and these guys post pictures of The one that was really nice was the Kimi Räikkönen post. Kimi posted one, uh, and he's a dad, and he's an extremely, he's Formula One champion. He, his kids are picking up on all of that. So when you have a dad like that, that's pretty cool that, your kids are going racing and they're going karting and they're kicking ass at that. I think that's fun. Um, and just can't imagine Kimi Räikkönen as a dad. Like that would be so weird. Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. Um, but yeah, and some dads just aren't into it. They're just not mechanically inclined or whatever. They're fantastic accountants or awesome, uh, running a lab at Dow or whatever. They're just not good at, you know, rebuilding Holly 4150s or 4160s. Um, maybe that's not their thing. Um, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Uh, they'll teach you to balance your checkbook. Um, so yeah, that's kind of it. A lot of really cool stuff with cars. And the other good part is my dad never discouraged me. And I see a lot of that where they say, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. It's not worth it. Just have someone else do it, whatever." My dad never discouraged me from doing the things that I wanted to do regarding cars or regarding music or regarding anything. He was very, I wouldn't say he was super encouraging, but he never scoffed at it. He never said, "That's dumb," or "That's a bad idea," or "Stop doing it." He never said that. If it was something that he didn't like, he kept very, very quiet about it. So that was, I don't want to, I don't know if that's encouragement or what you want to call it, but it was nice to see that. That was cool. And I recognize that now. I never recognized it back when it was happening. Um, what else? My mom was the same way too. I think my mom was more encouraging than my dad. I think my dad just kind of he kept quiet and let me stick the fork in the socket so that I could learn that way. Um, my mom would actually slap the fork out of my hand before I got to the socket. Um, yeah, that was a good thing. There was never a discouraging thing, and hopefully dads out there don't do that because I see that especially on the female side. I see a lot of it where there are more and more women getting into the mechanical side, the driving side, the coaching side, the technical side of the car world, and that I think it's fantastic. I've I've seen you know you guys know I've been a fan of Michelle Mouton since I don't even remember. She was what 17 when she came on the scene. I mean, I think it's fantastic. Um, and Jesse Combs is another hero. I mean, she did everything. She can TIG weld and she can drive a car, 350, 400 miles an hour, and she was fantastic. Shirley Muldowney is another big hero. There's a ton of them, and just going out there and doing it and having the dad, support him. A big one, and a lot of people make fun of this, but Danica Patrick. I don't know if you read her book, but her dad was super encouraging of her going out, sending her to Europe to race, and then coming back here and doing all the IndyCar stuff and the NASCAR stuff. Her dad backed her up a ton. So I think that's great when it's a female's getting backed up by her dad. I think that's a daughter is getting backed up by her dad. That's cool. There should be a lot more of that. Um, seeing it more in racing, and the more racing stuff I do, the more female leads I see. Drivers, crew chiefs, that sort of thing. Uh, Especially in drag racing, they're no longer, just in tight shorts backing up cars. They're actually, rebuilding superchargers and in between heats. So that's cool. That's really cool to see. Um, and driving wise, at Lemons in NASA, um, there's a bunch of really great instructors at Skip Barber. I don't know if they're there anymore, but there were some great female instructors and so a lot of fantastic female drivers. We got to, when we were at Road Atlanta in December, we got to hang out with Sarah Montgomery. She was part of the Lemons crew and she was doing, judging and tech and stuff. And Sarah's a fantastic driver, really great driver. So more of that, definitely the diversity and you know the whole different aspect of it. It's great. Um, get him a bumper sticker that says "You just got passed by a girl." that's uh, that's always very funny. I always like that one. So yeah, more encouraging like that. Uh, so hopefully there's more of that. Hopefully there's more kids out there. I went to a huge car show yesterday at National Trails Raceway and I had a bunch of kids come up to the Viper and they absolutely love it. And I'm very forthcoming. I'm very open about it. I'm like, hey, doors open if you want to, kids hop in and they turn the wheel and they're jazzed about it. They're awesome. My friend John came over. He had his son with him, and we went down and he stopped over here. And his son's three, I think he's 2.5 or 3. And I opened the door on the Miata, and he was like just turning the steering wheel. And then I made the mistake of showing him where the horn button was, and he had an absolute blast with it. It's a Ferrari horn on the Miata, which is kind of funny. And so he was just like beep beep. He had a great time for 5 minutes hitting the horn. And annoying, it would be annoying if it wasn't a cute 3-year-old kid, right? But yeah, he was super cool about it, and hopefully his son gets into cars like John's into cars, and then all the people I saw at the track, everyone from 5-year-old kids to 80-year-old guys, everyone loved the cars. Um, there were a couple of kids that were doing Instagram reels for people just for free, for fun, practice. They were maybe 10 years old. They had a camera and an Instagram account, and they were doing really cool, you know, things. And I'm sure there's a parent behind them, hopefully a dad that's encouraging them to do that. And they did a whole bunch of really cool ones. There were some Chargers. They did my Viper. Um, they did some of the other drag cars that were there, and it was really a quick 2 or 3 minute video, and they put some cool music behind it. And it was cool. I like that. Definitely encourage the youth, and it's how to keep all the stuff going. I think that's a good idea. I love seeing it. Um, so yeah, you guys are welcome to tell me your stories, your anecdotes. Uh, trying to focus on the dad stuff because it is Father's Day, or it was Father's Day. It's now Monday, but um, it's still Father's Day in California. You know, uh, tell the cool stories. Tell us. Just say one thing that your dad taught you, or something that you learned from your dad, either from watching him or doing it later on. Um, love to hear that stuff. Absolutely love to hear that stuff. Um, I'm gonna try and do it. I'll keep doing it. Also, I can't believe this hood doesn't even flex with a 190-pound guy on it. It doesn't even flex. Nope. I'm. I can. I mean, this is a lot of steel. This is like it doesn't care. You could put 3 people on here; it's not going to care. Uh, this car is a lot of steel. Mm. So, hopefully, that was a good one for you guys tonight. Hopefully, you like that. We'll get back into wrenching and doing cool stuff tomorrow. We'll put plugs in this. We've got a Subaru Legacy that is going to require some fire, some absolute heat to get that. Uh, we got a spindle. We got a hub that's totally seized up. We think it's the hub. It could be the caliper, but we have to get this Legacy rolling. Um, it's jacked up pretty good. So we'll probably have that here in the shop tomorrow, and I just need it out of the driveway, and we just need to get that thing rolling. Find out what parts we need, get them ordered, and get it the hell out of here. That'll be a quick one. Um, we've got lots more limo stuff. We've also got next. Oh, actually, this coming Saturday, the MR6 is going to the body shop, and we're going to do some frame pulling and see how that comes out. If the frame can get pulled kind of straight, then we'll worry about body work later. Um, I really need that trunk not angled so fiercely. And we can still race the car. It runs and drives just fine. It's that trunk area that really needs the help. So we're going to try and get that frame rail back there straightened out as much as we can real quick, and then we'll worry about the rest of the body work later. Um, what else do we have? We have tons of video from the aerial coming up. We're putting together a big video package for the aerial Atom, and we shot a whole bunch of video on Friday, which was great. And Cole's going to put all that together. So I'll get that out to you guys, as soon as possible. If I can, I'll put it up here on the channel. And then we're going to do a couple different versions. We're going to do a short version and a long version, and we'll keep the long version for ourselves, and the short version will go to whoever's interested in buying the car. And then what else do we have? I think that's about it. The Legacy, the limo, the aerial, and the MR6. That's going to be this week. So hopefully you guys enjoy watching. And like I said, if you have any questions, comments, anything, put them down there and I'll answer them. If you want to see a specific car in here or something specific, do drum brakes or I don't know, how do you seal a windshield? Whatever you guys want to see, put it in there and I'll get a vehicle here and we'll do it. It'll be pretty cool. Um, I'll try and get stuff out to you guys as much as possible. Literally trying to go every day, but work and everything else kind of gets in the way. So, um, good news is Florida's getting a lot closer. New shop, bigger shop, probably twice the size of this one, with a drain in the floor and a wash bay. All that stuff's coming. So, top secret, don't tell anyone. That's where we're at right now. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this, and hopefully you'll tell me some stories about your dad and cool car stuff you did with your dad. Thanks again for hanging out tonight. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, comments, whatever, definitely put them in there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Doing a ton more stuff where I'm not sitting on a hood talking. And don't forget to show someone that you love them today. It's a good thing to do. Give them a kiss on the cheek, give them a kiss on the nose, hold their hand, give it a squeeze. It's important for them, but it's more important for you. Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. I will catch you. I'll probably catch you tomorrow. We'll see if it's morning, afternoon, or evening. We'll see how it goes with the Legacy. Well, we'll see how the plugs go with this, and then we'll see how the Legacy goes. That should be. God, what a mess that thing is. I hope you got that car for free. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks. Slide off this hood. Woo!